we are already 4 days into preseason practice. Georgia's already had a chance to practice a couple of times in pads. Did it in front of, for what I've heard, a couple 2,000 or 3,000 people on earlier today at the open practice there, or the private practice, I guess, for the Classic City Collective members.
Yeah.
Anything you're kind of picking up coming out of camp? Because we got a little bit of an announcement we're going to make after we share kind of a little bit of preseason camp buzz, but I just want to hear what Rusty's got to say about as far as what's going on behind the scenes.
I guess we could talk about who didn't practice today. I think this, the practice report that we have up on Dawgs HQ is a combination of several people that reached out to us, several people that were there. But I think we can discuss it here because it is
it's a news item.
It's concerning. It's a news item. Jared Wilson did not practice at all, and we confirmed that through multiple sources. He is supposed to be the starting center. You know, from what, correct me if I'm wrong, what did the text say? He didn't do any live reps. Was he even in a helmet?
Yeah, he had his helmet and he had his shoulder pads on and stuff like that.
Okay.
From what I heard, he did snap a little bit, but mainly he just helmet, shoulder pads, and I was told he rode on a stationary bike.
So that explains why Tate Rattler says he is cross training as well. Obviously, Drew Bobo is the number two center, and you know he'll get some looks in there too. But you got to have a couple of people you're comfortable with. So that kind of explains Tate Rattler talking about he's doing some cross training as center as well. You know,
you knew when they got down to this center situation, and you know, two became one there, and Jared Wilson, and you kind of moved the line there. You knew that they were going to turn to an experienced offensive lineman at that point to kind of learn that position and be able to fill in maybe until Bobo is ready.
You got to have somebody make the calls now. That's no question, especially in that offense. Got to have somebody make the calls, and that's a big deal.
Especially when they do something you haven't seen, like when they do something you didn't work on that week, you know, because they'll throw something else out there. But you know, you got a guy that, you know, if Tate Rattler is your center, he's one of those guys. He's seen that front somewhere over the past 3 years, maybe you know, and he understands kind of where you need to go with that, as opposed to maybe seeing it for the first time.
I mean, we could really get technical, and we're not, because it'll get boring real quick. But there's a lot to identifying that Mike backer, how the pass protection sets up, who do you think's coming, who is hot, those type of things. So that center is a big deal. You know, when you look at you know, Jared Wilson as a player, obviously a lot of people very, very high on him as far as athletically and where he is. So no, it's not panic time at all, but it is newsworthy that right now he is not practicing. So you kind of want to pay attention to that as we go. I'm sure when you guys meet with Kirby Smart this week, somebody's going to ask him about that because there was a ton of eyes at practice today. So we got a great report on Dawgs HQ. I think if you're on the fence about reading something, that's one of the most detailed. Thank you to people that reached out to us. Several members. We had a really good board post on one of our subscribers had a long post, and I could tell he was excited posting it because it looked like Rusty Mansell had written it. Some things were misspelled, some punctuation was there, and I loved his comment. He goes, "Hey guys, I don't get paid for my writing skills," and I felt that. You know what I mean? You had to go back in and edit and those type of things, but there's several great posts on our message board right now of what people saw today. And I think, that we appreciate those guys reaching out to us and talking a little bit about that, but obviously the people that posted, some of the stuff they saw today as well too. So that's really good stuff. And they don't do much of that. Obviously somebody in the comments here, begging Megan, does Bobo pass the eye test? I think people would be shocked if Bobo in person. I mean, he is every bit of probably 6'5", 6'4.5", 305, 310 pounds. So he looks like a Georgia offensive lineman easily right now for sure.
Yeah, and listen, based on the report we put together, I also want to tell folks it's not just bad news on the injury front. Good news on the injury front. Kirby said Branson Robinson would be kind of limited in terms of how much he did, but not what he could do. Well, I had a couple people reach out. We've had a couple people reach out to us, tell us Branson looked really good. Like
That's
he had a good
unbelievable.
looking practice, which is I didn't realize this. Somebody was like, Branson without a brace, and I said, what? I didn't even notice that at practice the other day. But he's sans brace. I don't know if that's because of the specific injury or what. And Ty Ingram Dawkins is another that we've heard some things about having a good practice today. Man, you talking about coming off that foot injury? That's a big deal for him. That's a really big deal there. And I think they're still working Smile Munden back. Another piece of good news, Rusty. I'll say this too, since we're just going to stick on the injury front here. Jordan Hall was that.
Don't get people excited. Don't get people too excited.
Yeah, Jordan Hall, who has a stress fracture in his tibia, according to Kirby Smart, was we were told was out at practice, was riding a stationary bike, and then when he wasn't doing that, he was weight bearing on that leg and walking around.
That's good news too. We have both said he is fighting to get back. To get back this Clemson game. So you're going to have some bumps and bruises. I know you never want to hear anything like this. Tennessee lost a potential starter, defensive back this weekend, ACL injury. You just hate to hear anything like that.
Yeah.
No news is good news for anybody right now. So, with the Georgia front, you're going to have some nicks and some dings up. Here we are, first 3 or 4 days of practice. So still plenty of time there. Jared Wilson will be the one that we will try to, I'm sure, Jake, your practice reports and insider notes, that will be something that we'll get a lot of questions on as we go forward. When's the first scrimmage? Next Saturday?
Yeah, first scrimmage will be next Saturday.
Yeah. So my experience, tell me if you agree with this. My experience is this first scrimmage is a big deal. The second scrimmage is the one that kind of sets the depth chart. After that, they start saying, okay, you're going to probably practice squad red shirt for a while and be on the scout team. We're getting you ready to play, and then we'll get this group right here. So this is a very important scrimmage coming up this week, but 12, 13 days from now, that second scrimmage really sets the depth chart as we get forward into that Clemson. So got a big 13 days coming here. Actually, too, Jake, I think that time's up just about time when school starts. So they'll break camp after that second scrimmage and they'll get into that 20-hour week. So you really look at this and how we start reporting things and the practice notes that you're going to put out. Those things are going to become really valuable, what kind of information we get there, because in my opinion, they got about 10, 12 days to set this roster up for that Clemson game, barring any kind of injury type change like that. So the next 2 weeks for me is really important on who you can see early in the season.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it, Rusty, because when you have that final scrimmage, and you were kind of, painting the timeline a little bit there, but you're 2 weeks away from game one. And if you're not at least on the bubble after that scrimmage, like if you're off the bubble on the wrong side of the bubble, you're done. Your time is done as far as being able to climb back in before game one. You're going to have to do it on the scout team, because you may have, they usually
or a bye week.
They usually give them, or a bye week. They usually give them that Sunday off, and then they start back that Monday, Tuesday, and maybe Wednesday, if you're lucky, or kind of still work on us. The team works on itself for about 2 and a half, 3 practices maybe. And then from there on out, they'll get a little bit of a jump start on preparing for Clemson. And that'll be scout team work. And that's when guys get different jerseys and you kind of stop learning the game plan every week. You're part of, you're helping to form the game plan. You're not you're not studying it anymore. And so that's kind of how that works.
I wonder how many players Georgia can travel to that Clemson game. I wonder if they'll be able to travel 85. I wonder if that'll be SEC road games are 70, right?
Yeah,
75 now.
I almost think I've gotten to this point. This is such a weird, so weird that you bring this up, because I was thinking about it earlier today. I think they just fly by the seat of their pants. It wouldn't surprise me if they call like in a week in advance. But hey, how many we taking? 88? Something. I know it's contractually agreed to before that at some point, but man, I've seen such different numbers for neutral site games and non-conference home games, non-conference away games. I mean, it's been just so odd over the years seeing such, bring different roster sizes that I don't know. I think if they really want to, they can bring everybody like they can for a home game. I think if they really want to,
I'll have
but
to
I
find
don't know
That'd be
that
a great
anybody
question.
does that.
That'd be a great question to find out. I know the SEC road, the SEC. I will say this, and Matt Godwin, who's obviously our guy that's been in all those rooms for years, that's one of those deals, that SEC road games, we start talking about going to Kentucky, you can only take 70 players. So you start looking at, I heard there's a lot of conversations when it gets like 75, you get down trying to get those 5 kids that aren't going to make that trip. So we'll see. Is that all that's numbers? I was just curious if maybe if you'd heard a number on the Clemson game.
No, I haven't.
I mean,
I know I took a roundabout way of saying it could be anything. I mean,
Mhm.
because I just feel like when you get to those neutral site non-conference games like that, and there haven't been a ton of them, but man, Georgia had a sideline absolutely chock full in Charlotte, North Carolina, in 2021. That was a sideline full of folks right there. So I don't know. I mean, they could bring 100 for all I know. I don't know that there's a whole lot of rules surrounding that. I think it's what you're willing to pay for.
We'll see. I know all my friends and people I know they start to understand the planning around a Clemson game and tickets and hotels. And I got some late planners are like, dang, man, hotel rooms are hard. I'm like, yeah, it's going to be hard to find a hotel room in Atlanta on Labor Day weekend. So noon kickoff, and it's coming, man. We're already August the 4th, and I got high school media stuff all week long, and high school games starting week from Wednesday in Atlanta. Football season is here.